What most Americans know of their native populations is usually limited to genre literature and genre cinema. Cowboy and Indian movies were a staple in America since the earliest days of both Hollywood and television. Americans romanticized the role of the white settler and white soldier, and even to a large extent romanticized the noble savage as well. They have seen their own history through a thick scrim of fantasy, fear, and even guilt, but still have not embraced the pure reality. That's from The Mountains of Madness, American Prehistory of the Occult, in Peter Lebenda's Sinister Forces, a grimoire of American political witchcraft, Book 1, The Nine. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. And as you see, the agenda still continues on the climate change nonsense. Now, today, the EPA comes out with a notice that global warming gases such as CO2 are a threat to human life. Now, considering the eugenics agenda behind the entire climate change bullshit, you would think that that would be a good thing to these fuckers. Because if it was in fact a toxic gas that meant more people would die from it, that would fit into their fucking plan. But no. This is the way things work, you see. Something comes out to be a chink in the fucking armor of their fucking plan, and then they have to steamroller ahead. So, if you can't get action from the Senate or the House, you have the President, who's definitely been given his fucking marching orders on this issue, to have the EPA come out with something that supports this fucking agenda. When there should be investigations not only into the scientific fraud that has come out of the Climate Research Unit in East Anglia, but everywhere that has relied on any data that has come from them or the IPCC of the UN. Because this is the greatest fraud ever. But instead of pulling back a little bit, they can't do it because they've invested every fucking thing they have into promoting this fucking agenda. And that's why you have the EPA come out with this fucking nonsense today. So, it's time to be more active. And it's time to make sure that the House and Senate hear from you and the President that this fucking shit has to stop. We have to find a way to stop this fucking steamroller from rolling. No matter what you do, you have to take the time to contact your representatives, your senators, and the White House and tell them that this fucking fiasco has to be stopped until a proper investigation is done. At the very fucking least. And the other thing that is a hallmark of these people who run the fucking show is to have so many important fucking issues running at the same fucking time. So you can hardly mount any kind of protest. So you have the war in Afghanistan accelerating. You have the healthcare debate. Now this big deal with abortion as well. And the cuts to Medicare. And everything else being thrown into the mix. How can anybody possibly mount an effective opposition to all of these things? Because all of them need our attention. The only thing we can do is try our best. And that is to put as much energy as we're able into this opposition. And to tell them that we are not going to accept it. Because at the very least, even, let's just suppose for the sake of fucking argument, that climate change is actually happening like they say it is. We absolutely cannot rely on anything that has come out of the IPCC because they have relied on the faulty, rigged fucking data that has been given to them by the Climate Research Unit that you have all seen the emails of, and you have all been talking about, and you have all been seeing about here on YouTube and elsewhere, but not in the mainstream media for the most part. There has to be an absolutely independent investigation into this. There has to be a completely new scientific look at this. That's the only way you're going to have any kind of credibility. It's been shot and destroyed. And as far as I'm concerned, my position is there is no fucking global warming. There is no climate change. And the only reason Al Gore has anything to do with this issue at all is because he wants to be a fat fucking billionaire. He doesn't give a shit about this planet, you, or anything else. The only thing he cares about is fattening his fucking wallet and his fat ass. And that goes for everybody else who's intimately involved in this entire process. They all stand to make a fucking fortune. And if it really was about saving humanity and saving people and saving the earth, do you think it would be done in an altruistic way anyway? Let's just do it to save the earth. No, because it's an entire fucking money-making scheme. So get out the letters again, get out the phone, and tell these fuckers that this has got to stop. We have to throw as many roadblocks in front of them as we can to try to derail any portion of this fucking agenda. We have to do it. We have to crush something. Choose your target or spread yourself out. But by God, you've got to do something. You've got to make your voice heard, and you've got to tell them, absolutely not. Take this shit you've been shoveling me and have it back yourself. Thank you.